Whoa! What's happening, people? How y'all doing? I think this is number 133. Welcome. Happy Sunday to you. Sorry I'm running a few minutes late. Had a rather heavy, spicy Mexican food meal last night, and it's the kind of the gift that keeps on giving, if you know what I'm getting at. That's as far as I'll go with that. And I hope that you're all well. What's going on? Who we got here? Stephen Douglas and Rory's here. What's up, man? How you guys doing? Harley, Eric Johnson. Good to see all you guys. What happened this week? What did I do? I did a video. God, I don't even remember what I did this week for videos. Let's see if we got anything to discuss. I'm working on one right now for a Synergy module. So that's my project today. Oh, yeah, I put up a video for the Seymour Duncan Power Stage 200. That's right, which is a cool little power amp that you can use for all kinds of things. Use it to amplify pedals, use it to amplify preamps, use it to do wet dry. Well, somebody asked me when I did the video for it, like why I didn't. They said in the comments that they would have liked to have heard it with some more conventional overdrive pedals. And it's like, I actually don't really like that approach. And I don't kind of want to normalize the approach of, I'm just going to turn this light back here, just even it out here a little more. The approach of using pedals as though they were amps, like most pedals, most overdrives. Because they're just kind of not. What number one thing is, what would happen if you need a clean sound? You just turn off the pedal and then, if that worked. Still so damn bright. It'll even out. You know what I'm saying? Like if you need a clean tone, a pedal, you can't just turn it off and then run right into a power amp. That'd be like running into the effect return of a guitar amp with no tone stack, no preamp. It would be weird. It would just be really, really sterile, with no tone stack at all. So that's the only thing. And so I tried to pick pedals like the Iridium and the Ethos Clean that are preamps, that are all like substitute for guitar amplifier preamp sections with, they can get good clean sounds, like kind of juicy, dynamic. I think there's this misconception that, you can turn on an overdrive and that's cool. And then you can turn it off and you'll have a clean sound. Well, God, this part of my hair is driving me crazy because it's like shorter than the rest. It's going to be okay in like 2 months. But right now it sucks. Just weird. I got a haircut this week and it didn't really rectify my current hair woes, but things are gonna get better. I'm gonna get there. I know it. I'm just a little more time. Anyways, yeah, you gotta have a tone stack, a preamp to kind of bring things up in level and add a little bit of color and character to the signal, and then also the tone stack to kind of fine tune in the tone. So, something like the Ethos, I thought, was a good representation of that because it's, right in its name. Where is that pedal? I got it in here somewhere. Oh, I put it away already. Sorry. But, the Ethos Clean from, I think it's called Custom Tones is the company. It's kind of a dumbly, even looks dumbly, but you can get great clean sounds out of it. They're kind of juicy and feel like an amp. So, anyway, that's that. And then the Iridium, obviously, is like a miniature amp modeler, basically. So it's another good kind of version. And then you can, anyway, power. I digress because what we were really talking about was this thing, the Power Stage. Oops. So it's a power amp. It's light, it's portable. It's got tone controls in it, yes, but I wouldn't consider it. It sounds fairly. It sounds like if you've got a power amp with a rack mount EQ or something like that. That's kind of the tone that you get with it, where you can you want to have any kind of overdrive gain and then some preampy kind of juicy stuff coming before this. And then this just is clean power and a final kind of EQ, overall EQ to tune it in and stuff. Sounds good though. Even to reamp the PT15, like if I wanted to, or if you've got, say, like a Marshall, 100-watt Marshall, and you load it down with a load box and then come out into that thing and you can have it at bedroom volume. Pretty cool. Rory's up there in the top chat. Thanks, buddy. Buy yourself some coffee, he says. I will. Thanks, man. I appreciate you being here. Hope you're doing good over there, over the pond. Wish I was over there, getting a little bit of change of pace, change of scenery. Peter says, a glorious Sunday to all. Remember to hit the thumbs up button. It helps Pete out. I appreciate that. Yeah, please thumbs up it. And so what else did I do this week? I did a video for it came in on Monday for the crazy preamp, the Preamp Mark II from Bliss. So you guys might have seen this. Now, this would be a pretty good candidate actually as well. And I didn't use it in the video because I just kind of done a video with it. So, but I could have. This thing it's a perfect example actually because it has the Benson Chimera preamp built in, which is a boutique amp. And he basically took that amplifier, distilled it down into a pedal, and you replaced all the tube stages and stuff with FETs, with transistors. And then, you know, he's got the tone stack in there with the treble and the bass from the Chimera, but also he added a mid-range. They added a mid-range with parametric mid, so you can pick the frequency. And if you watch the video for this, you saw me use it as a wah, because you can automate these faders. And if you automate the frequency, you can slide it up and down and all that and get a wah sound, basically. And on top of that, you got fuzz, both germanium and silicon. I made a little mistake, actually, in the video. This diode switch right here allows you to turn it off or select silicone or germanium, and you can actually do that when there's no fuzz on. I made it sound like you could only select silicone or germanium diodes when the fuzz is on. Actually, you can do it for just the overdrive too, because germanium overdrive is the thing, silicone overdrive is the thing. You can switch that in. I didn't in my video. I like just the sound of it with it off for the overdrives, but then of course I used it for the fuzz. Got the different sounds. And this pedal, by the way, does really, really great cleanup volume control stuff that I show in that video. So if you haven't seen it, you can get those super chimey, you know, I call it, you know, the Strat, you know, cleanup secret or whatever, you know, where you roll down and the fuzz makes for an amazing clean sound when you have the volume down pretty much anywhere south of 8 or something on the guitar. Yeah, good stuff. So those are the videos that I put out this week. The one I'm working on right now is there's a Synergy up there. I'm working on a Pitbull module. Anybody remember that amp, the Pitbull, from a really nice amp I tried actually like around 99, something like that. I played a Pitbull CL, I think it was called a CL50 or something. And I remember liking the sound of it. And I was in kind of a modern rock band at the time, and it seemed to really fit that tone. I was going to get one, then I never did. But it reminded me of that right away. And it's got a graphic EQ on it, one of the only amps that does, besides maybe something like a Mesa 2C or something. And the graphic is nice for fine tuning. You know, once again, really dialing in the post distortion sound. That's much like on the Power Stage, fine tuning in the post distortion sound. With you can cut the mids a bit, etc., etc. Philip says, Pete, is that a Soldano I spy? It's the unicorn amp I've always wanted. Is that a new one, and is it the bomb? It is. It's a SLO 100. It's down there. Got something else here actually interesting to show you. Thanks for bringing up the amp, because I've got a cab here I want to show you guys. Oh, of course, this week I also put out a video with this guy, the Sir Ombre, on my Instagram, and also up there up on Facebook, but it's just a camera phone video in the room. This thing's amazing sounding. It's, you know, John's a huge ZZ Top fan, and it's the first 2 ZZ Top albums were evidently a Brown Deluxe. And I still haven't tried plugging it into a 412. He's like, you've got to plug it into a 412 cabinet. I haven't done that yet. But even just in the room, it is like, it really sounds like a perfect bridge between Marshall and Fender is what it sounds like to me. It's got a lot more mid-range and juice than any blackface Fender circuit, much more Marshall-y in that sense. And the harmonics and stuff are off the chart. Like when you're just sitting here playing and it's not even that dirty, and it's up to a, you know, it's making pretty good volume because it's 20 watts. Turn it up in the room, but notes will just take off and feed back, and it's not even that dirty. I mean, it's amazing sounding. So really big single notes, super fun to play, just really fun to play through. Guitar, cable, amp. So you can see that on my IG and on my Facebook. So there's that. The Soldano, yes, it's a new one. Yeah, it's really fun. So I tried one a while ago. And you know what it was I realized that all my high gainers were Sirs, which is cool because I love them and it's my signature amp. But I just wanted a couple other flavors for the studio, basically, of the high gain thing. because there's different sounds out there, and it's cool to have sometimes when you're doing a track and blending. I love the guitar tones of like Adam from Tool, and for heavy sounds where I know it's an old Marshall blended with a Boogie or a Dsl or that whatever modern amp he chooses kind of to use in combination with his old 73 Marshall, I think it is. So that's cool. And I whether or not you're using 2 amps at once, or whether you're doing a track and putting maybe one on one side and one on the other side and doubling the part, I really like the using 2 amps thing to get some different colors and stuff like that. So hence that was the reason for the Germino that's got all the Jose mods in it and stuff, and the Soldano. And the Soldano sounds great. It's got a great big, you know what they sound like. I mean, it's kind of be it Gary Moore or be it Warren Haynes or Eddie Van Halen. It's got this big grindy kind of modern distortion that once again big sounding, like big single notes, big I don't know. It's got a lot of like I don't know if it's depth or just broadness to the sound. It's not the tightest amp in the world either. People might think of them as being this kind of like, but it's got some squish to the sound, anything above 5 or 6 on the volume, and in a cool way. Like it's just a really big, I can see why Warren likes it and why Gary Moore liked it. Like in a blues context or something, there's a bigness to the notes that's really cool. And it's kind of different than Marshall's to me in a way. Like Marshall's have or Marshall-based circuits have more of it's a thinner sound. And I remember becoming aware of this for the first time when I with Mesas and Marshalls. Mesas had, like, to me, big liquidy single notes, but chords could get a little jumbled up. And then Marshalls had more string definition. That's why on things like Unchained or what's the Lay It Down by Rad or something, that sound where you could play 3 or more notes at a time on the guitar with quite a bit of distortion, and it sizzled and it had that clarity to it at the same time. And so like chords were really cutting and stuff, but the single notes can be a little thinner. So it's just a different sound for different things, and that's where maybe, a couple of amps that are very different amps, but the Ombre and the Soldano have a similar quality to me with a great big single note thing. One's much softer and bluesier and squishier, and the other one's more modern with way more gain stages, but there's a similarity there. So just some different tones, I think I missed somebody in the top chat. I'm going to go back and find it. Oh no, that was Philip asking that question. That's right, about the Soldano. See, and I don't have a lot of experience with old ones. I've played them a little bit. It is an interesting thing, but I think that guys I know that have said that they're every bit as good, if not better. They've got a real loop in them now. That's like, they had a loop before, but it was super hot line level and it was difficult to use with, different things. And now it's got a loop in it. And there's also this switch on it that lets you kind of tone down the gain on the distortion channel to get more of kind of a little bit of a vintage flavored overdrive. I think it's just a gain cut, really. But that's a nice thing. So there's a couple things. Plus, it's got a depth control on the front now, which they never used to have. You used to have to get the depth mod or whatever, and then I think it was kind of more of a fixed thing, wasn't it? Or was it a pot? I'm not sure. But now it's got a depth control. So there's some neat things about them they've done to the new one. But and Mike is super involved, so he's not going to put up with anything. So Corsair is my main squeeze, my signature amps. The PT15 is the amp that gets the most use around here, that's for sure. But it was just nice to get a couple different flavors for the studio. Oh, okay, one more thing, and then I promise I'll get some questions stuff, because I'm showing you guys, I got all kinds of cool new stuff to show you. Check this out. And you can see it's not that heavy, because I'm picking it up like that. It's a Comet Ambicab. Pretty cool. So for wet dry, this has Neo speakers in it. I'm not sure if they're 10s or 8s. But there's 2 of them in there. There's a stereo power amp, and you run the second speaker output on a head or a combo. You can use a combo with it. I'm actually going to try the Ombre with it, I think. But you can run the second speaker out into here, and then it's got a send with the send level, and then stereo returns for your effects. So you should run your effects 100% wet, and they come out of this cab. It's all your ambient stuff in stereo. So you can use this with any combo. You can use it with any head, really. And you just, that's how you do it. You just take a tap off the, second speaker output goes in here. The other one goes to the amp. The cab, sorry. You know what I'm saying? You got your dry, right? And then this is just the wet stuff. So I'll be doing a video of that. I need to figure out how to do it properly, but I think I'll use a couple condenser mics just kind of up on the ambicab, and then dynamic one down on the bottom, and get a cool sound. I'm going to use it with my pedal board with, my Eventides and stuff on my board, and get some cool ambient thing going. So that's coming soon, but excited to try that. And it was neat to see how small it is. You can see it back there with the ombre. You could put the ombre on top of it, right? And then have that on the bottom, and probably have just an amazing sounding wet dry thing. I'm looking forward to trying it, to be honest, because I think there's something to the whole Landau, Scott Henderson, keep the wet in a different cabinet thing. I mean, I used to run a wet dry rig, so I know this. I used to have a great big rig with a 412 and two. Actually, I had 3 412s for a while. It was insane, but I did one of those rigs with 3 412s, and then I moved from that to a 412 and 2 112s for the wet, because it was just like, who do I think I am? I'm not like Eddie Van Halen or something. So it was less stuff for the crew and everything when I was touring, and that was my rig for a while with the 2 112s and the 412 and the wet, and it was cool. I don't know, just always messing around, right? Chris Quinn is up there in the top chat, and he says he loves putting a Rangemaster in front of Soldano. Ooh, bet that's pretty cool to make it get more cut, sound less hi-fi, and add some touch. That sounds neat. I haven't tried that actually. I'd like to try a Rangemaster in front of it. You know me, I love treble boosters, so good times for sure. I'm gonna give that a try. Thanks for the tip. You sent me a nice contribution to my super chat there, and you gave me an idea. So what do I owe you, my friend? You guys are too cool. Jay Frockon is up there in the super chat. He says, "Hey Pete, when you use an amp switcher, isn't it bad on the amp not being used?" No, because they have a simple load circuit in there. So like something like the Amp Pete has some sort of protection for the amp that's not being used. An amp just at idle, the hiss coming out of it, you don't need a hell of a lot of load if there's not a big guitar signal going through it. It's just the idle noise. So the amps in the Amp Pete are protected by a simple load that it puts a load on the amps that aren't being used, and they're safe, as I understand it. So you're cool. You want to use your Marshall Blackstar combo through a UA aux. How does the amp switcher keep a load on the unused amp? What's the amp switcher you're going to use? Because I can't vouch for every single amp switcher out there, but I know with the Amp Pete you're good. I believe with the Tone Bone one that's just 2 amps that you're good. They've thought of these things. They don't want to have any kind of warranty claims or people coming at them, with issues. So you should be good, but you should refer that question probably to the company that makes the load, just to make sure. But I'm sure they've done it right if they've got it out there and they're billing it as an amp switcher for tube amps. I'm going to grab this one, Stephen Turner here, before it disappears up there in the super chat. He says, talk about hand and wrist pain, experience prevention medical pros to see if it can't resolve. Okay, I'll come right back to that, Stephen, I promise. I'm going to do this other one first, and then I'll talk about my experiences with that. Leon Barron says, thinking of getting a second Badger for stereo, and wondering how close I'd get if I took a line out and reamped with the Power Stage 200 as a second amp. Yeah, you could do that. You want to take a line out of your amp and then reamp with the SC, so you'd have to put some effects or some kind of something that'll create some imaging or something in the second amp, and you'll get kind of a quasi, or, so you're saying line out second amp. Yeah, I would add an effect or something, on the it's not gonna be exactly like a I see what you're saying. You think of that as being the wet amp? Because if you take a line out of the other amp, it's not going to be like true stereo if you don't, the one way to go is like a chorus pedal or something. Then you split a Fender Deluxe and an AC30 or something. And then, if you add something in line that'll delay one of them or whatever, or give you some wash on, a chorus or something on one side, then you'll get an image. With your thing, you got to do the same thing. If you take a tap off your first amp, run the main out to the cabinet, and then take a tap and run it to an effect or something like that gives you a little something that makes the other one have a little bit of an image, But yeah, that'd be fine. You could do that. You could even do the thing like I just said with an Iridium or something. If you want to keep the rig real small, you could have a power station and an Iridium, set to the AC30 setting or something, and then have like a delay pedal or something, or a chorus, that'll give you a little bit of an image in that second amp, have some effects. And it'd probably sound really cool depending, it really largely depend on what you choose to. Oh, I see. You're not saying doing that, right? You're saying a line out box. So just an effect, because you're still going to have the preamp sound. So yeah, you don't need that, right? Sorry. Just take the line out tap and then run it into an effect or something, then into the power station, and then into the other cabinet. And yes, you will have a bit of an image. The tone will be virtually identical in the two, but if you put a bit of stereo on one side, yeah, that'll work. I know what you're saying. Sorry, that was discombobulated as hell. Now, back to the hand pain thing. So my experiences with hand and wrist pain, I think I've had a little carpal tunnel. It's really good right now. No problems for the last few months, or a couple months at least, but it comes and goes. I think I'm just kind of slight, like the way I'm built. And I think that my wrist is narrow. And so whatever's going on in there, I say I'm doing good right now, but if I stretch just a little too far, or play a little too hard, all of a sudden I'll get that. What it manifests to me is like a nerve pain, like a shock in my hand that I feel, like a nerve getting pinched, and I don't know if that's in here, but I suspect it is, maybe through here too. But I've had all these kinds of issues, and I find for me, I just have to play lighter. And I have to position and hold the guitar carefully, not wear it too low on a strap. You have to pay attention to it. I have to warm up. Stretching can be, light stretches can be good, like this, where I feel some stretch in here, and this, But, if you're having problems, a good sports medicine person is who to see. That's what I found. Because I visited one once, like somebody that does physiotherapy and sports medicine, and they deal with these problems all the time. They've got it all down, they'll give you some good things to do for sure. Ibuprofen seems helpful too for me. If I take a couple of Advils and I'm having issues, it always seems to calm it down a little bit, or maybe an Aleve, naproxen. I try and avoid that stuff. Like I don't want to take it every day, but if I'm going through a phase, I'll take it. And try and just calm the stuff down. It's the best you can do, I think, many times. The older you get, it doesn't seem to get any easier. Like healing takes longer. So there's that. What else? What else can I say about that? Yeah, just that I would, ask for, good sports medicine kind of therapist person is the way to go. I think if you're having issues, and to get some stretches and some advice, a splint or a wrist splint, like that's how you can get them at any drugstore, like a Walgreens or CVS or something. You put it on and it can hold your wrist straight. That's been helpful for me too at times at night when I sleep, and I feel like because I used to sleep like this, or and I bend my wrist, and then I'd wake up, my hand would be numb. Actually, God, I slept weird this week. One day I was like lying on my side, and I had both my arms pinned, and I woke up and I rolled over, and then my whole like upper body was asleep. I was like, holy hell, like what? This is the weirdest feeling, and it sucked. But anyway, I don't know. Okay, I guess I'm lucky I didn't fall out of bed or something. What are you guys talking about here? Eric Johnson says he was digging through his junk this morning and found a ticket stub for Generation Axe in 2016. What a great day. Incredible day at the Paramount in Seattle. I remember that. I've played that place. The world feels totally different only 4 years on. Yeah, this year, man. Ugh. I know. It's a drag. I would look back at gig photos and I'm like, oh, yeah, we did that. The Hoppo says, how do you set your amp up differently for IRs versus a real cab, particularly gain for higher gain stuff. I try and find IRs that are as close to a real cab as possible, to be honest, like so that I don't have to change much. I want to find one that sounds basically identical to when I'm playing through a cab, so I'm not like having to change things. Arthur Gonzalez says, "What's cracking?" He's up there in the super chat. Hey man, how are ya? What's up, dude? Thanks for doing the top chat thing. And are you using your SL68 much lately, says Adam up in the top chat as well. And if so, any reason why not? No, I haven't actually that much, but it's nothing to do with the amp. It's sitting right there ready to go. And I love it. It's interesting. Since I got that Germino, I've got that sound too. It's a little cleaner sounding than the SL68. So now I've got a couple different flavors of it, but really it's just like, I mean, it's SL68 always feels like home to me, always. And that Marshall kind of, be it there's a similarity to all of them. Like, to be honest, like between that Germino, the Marshall that's above it, which is a 71, 72, 50, and then the SL68 up there. There's that similarity with all of them. That is, yes, you can get more gain out of the Germino now that's got an extra tube in it and all that gain stage. But there's that stringy thing. They clean up. They're kind of bright. They're aggressive. And they do that. They all do that similar vibe. So, and to be honest, even the Comet is in the ballpark. I guess the thing about it is, I remember Steve Stevens once saying about Plexis, he's like, those amps can sound great. They sound amazing. I mean, he recorded a lot of his biggest hits and stuff like that with Billy Idol with the 71, and he's got a couple different Marshalls. But he said it's just harder to get. Like, they're harder to get that sound out of, like to record it and capture it and do everything you need to do. It's just a little more, they're loud and all that. And the SL68, it's not, with the great master in it and all that, it's easier. And with the Germino, it's easier and stuff. But there is something about the PT15 where it sounds so good. And it's just like, I can get there and basically it's just really friendly and easy, to kind of get that sound. And then with the low, it's like, it's, what it is? It's like you got your great, like I drive a Model 3. So I got a little Tesla, it's like crazy. You plug it in. I don't buy gas. I haven't bought gas in well over a year. It's amazing. It goes fast, like super fast. It just does everything and it's amazing. Or you've got your 65 Mustang, that is like, God, that car's cool and looks amazing. You take it out on the weekend and, or maybe you got your 65 Mustang with some mods and some, you got updated, whatever. Somebody worked on the steering and the tires and stuff. And it's, you put in a modern stereo system or something, you hot rodded it out a bit. And that's the SL68, right? Or you've got your brand new thing. So it's kind of like that, it's like your daily driver. That's what it is, and the PT15 for me is the daily driver. It just kind of does everything and does it fast and efficient and kick ass. And it's all you could ever, really, I could just play with that for the rest of my life and probably be fine. So I guess it's like that. I will say that when I play an old Marshall, it just feels like home. I mean, it like a 68. It's the that circuit, because like I say, there's a similarity with, I can dial any of those amps and get really comfortable on them. And there's that raw, stringy, like I was saying about the Soldano and all that, how it's got the thicker and the rounder and the single notes and all that. For me, the kind of the chord raw, stringy thing really feels like, well, that's my home base, and everything else sort of feels like a variation on that or deviation, yeah. What else we got here? Talk me out of a white Marshall Dsl 40 CR that's for sale locally. Get it, Steven. Do it. Just buy it. We won't tell. I don't really need it because, but I was always curious about these. I would like to use it to practice and screw around on. A DSL 40, I remember the originals. And that's the only one I've ever played. I haven't played a modern one. Just remember the ones that came out in the was late 90s or something. They had the DSL. I think they had a 20 too, didn't they? But there was a 40 for sure. And then I had a DSL 50 head. Or was it 100? I think it was a 50. I used that amp a lot for things. back then. Ben Coombs says, oh, you guys are talking amongst yourselves. Nice that you're here, Ben. Thank you very much. Ian's here. Preston Smith. Oh, you dudes. All right. What else we got here? Any thoughts about Hamstead amps? That's a piece of gear I don't know anything about. I haven't tried them. Mr. Norte's here from Portugal. What's up? Amazing demos this week, says Veal. I hope I'm saying your name right. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, I'm going to move down in the chat. Move way down because I'm way up at the top and I'm so far behind. Doug B-Day, says Joe. Yeah, that's right. I saw Doug Panic yesterday. He had a little drive-by birthday extravaganza. It was nice. He's 70, you know. It's amazing. He looks incredible for 70. God, if I can be half that good at 60, I'll be happy. Dell says Dell says I miss your long hair. It's growing. I'm doing the best I can. It'll only grow so fast. This is all I got for now. What else we got? Let's see. Do you ever play deluxe reverbs? I don't own one, so I haven't played one for a long time. Although I've got that brown deluxe there. That's the precursor. It's a Sir Ombre, but really, you know, brown deluxe derived. I used to play them all the time. When I was doing sessions for Linda Perry, she had a great mid-60s one, and that was the most used amp I probably played through at her studio. It just worked perfect for most things that weren't like hard rock, you know, anything else. That or an AC30 that was amazing that she had there, a copper panel AC30 with the top boost on the back. It was a great amp. And sometimes I'd play them together in stereo or just put them both on a switcher, and then I could blend them, and you know, those were my favorite amps at her place. Josh says thoughts on Marshall 1959 hand-wired reissue versus Sir SL68 for slight breakup, low medium gain with Strat and P90s. I would probably go SL68 just because it's got a couple options on it with the Variac thing, you know, the power transformer, and that's pretty cool. I use mine with that on all the time almost. It's a nice option to have, and then also just the post-phase inverter master on the back, which works brilliantly well, really, for just taking the edge off. That, you know, you can get the volume down to nice club volume or whatever using that, and it still doesn't affect. The thing about a post-phase inverter master, I'm not sure if everybody knows this, but it affects the things like the presence on the amp. So if you turn it down, you're going to find the lower you go with it, the less the presence control is going to be active and doing anything. Not that that really matters, but it's just a thing, you know. So something to be aware of, you know. And so it does change the way the amp works a little bit, but if it's implemented well, and it certainly is on the Sur, it can sound great, especially for just turning down to like 7 or something to just take a little bit of the edge off. So right there, you've got those two options. Most people that I ask about the Marshall, the 1959 hand-wired, I'll say, you know, what do you think of these? Are they like, I've asked folks like Friedman and stuff, and they're always like, it's pretty good. That's what they say, like, you know, and which I don't know what that means, like whether or not it's like, well, the transformers could be better, or, well, it's sort of the circuit, but you need to change this and this and this to make it. I don't know. You'd have to ask them, but that's always the response I get out of the real boutique amp guys, is they're like, yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty close, but you know, so, that's what they always say, you know. I mean, I think they're really cool. It's Marshall, obviously, and it says Marshall. I know they had some where they had problems with the output transformers, I think, when they first came out, and people were popping output transformers on them, and they probably fixed that. But anyways, I don't want to sound like I'm poo-pooing them, because I think Marshalls are cool, and I think it's cool that I remember really being stoked when they came out with the hand-wired ones, because it's like, great, they're making, like, we got to give them some props for making those amps again and doing it like that. I wish they made a 50 hand wired, you know. I think that would be really cool, like a small box 50. But yeah. Mike says, I'm in my mid-50s and tend to push myself a bit far, 3 to 4 hours of practice a day, and my hand really aches. I have a dull ache from the small finger. That's interesting, because I think generally the nerve that gets pinched is the one that, or the tendons and stuff that are these 3 fingers, right? And so if it's in your little finger, that's interesting, because I don't hear about a lot of people having issues with their pinky. It's more like other parts of their hand. But yeah, it's a good thing to ask a sports medicine person, how to deal with it. Pixelot says, does anyone know where I can get Wilkinson locking saddles in the US, like what I've seen on my Sir? I think they have a Reverb store, don't they? And I think you can order them off the Reverb store. That would be my guess as to be the best place to go in the US. So look on Reverb and see, but maybe somebody else here has a better explanation than that. What's my favorite Rangemaster? I like a bunch of different ones. I like the 65 one that came out a number of years ago. Their Rangemaster clone, it's got a 5-position switch that lets you fine-tune the bass. There's also a real similarity between that and the divided by 13 Dyna. What's it called? Dyna Ranger. Similar in that it's got the 5-position switch. I'm not sure if he makes that pedal anymore. He might. If not, you could probably look for one used somewhere. It might be scarce, but the Dyna Ranger, real cool. Both those are great. I used the Dyna Ranger on my song Monster Movie from Guitar Nerd, and I used the 65 one on Into Focus from my second album. So you can hear those snotty treble boost tones on both those songs. I really like the Cornish one too. It's got a fair amount of bass, more than a Rangemaster, I find, which maybe Brian May has, because Pete Cornish made him in the 70s, I think, for Brian May. And I've got that double Rangemaster one here. It actually belongs to John Shanks. I should give it back at some point, but it's right here. This pedal. And it actually has a 6-pence taped to the bottom, so if I want to bust that out and play some real Brian May, I can. But anyway, Brian used this in the 70s. I believe this is what he was using for live with Queen, and it was basically a Cornish created this for him, and you can buy these still from Cornish. They're $600, I think. This is crazy, but it's probably about $15 in parts or something. But anyway, it's got two of them built in, and it does sound great to have. I see the way that's marked here is with one of them set here. If you have this one on and then you kick it with this one, or maybe it's vice versa, I can't remember, but you have one on for kind of the rhythm sounds and then turn on the other one as a solo boost, and you get a double treble booster, and it sounds great. Ripping. More bass though than a Rangemaster, a little more bass, so it can be a little more full sounding than the real deal, which is really snotty but can sound really cool. Depends on the amp you're using it with and the guitar, I guess. That's why it's nice to have the Dyna Ranger with the fine tunable thing. The Constellation, I think it's called, from Crazy Tube Circuits, is cool too if you want a little more polite. It's got a it's a fuzz, but also has treble booster built in. Oh, the other one I really like, so you can pick fuzz or treble boost. And the other one I really like is my BAE Hot Fuzz, which has a treble booster in it, and it sounds amazing. It's a fuzz and treble boost you can use at the same time, and it's a great sound having the fuzz and the treble booster on at the same time. Really ripping fuzz, super cool. Greg T is up there in the top chat. Super chat. Thanks, buddy. He says, thanks for being generous with your time and knowledge. I appreciate you being here. Thank you. Thank you. The Analog Man Beano Boost. What? I was going to highlight this comment right here. Analog Man Beano Boost is Rotal Music, and he that's a great sounding pedal. I would agree with that. The Beano Boost is terrific. And he makes lots of great sound. I don't have one, but I've heard it. He makes lots of great pedals. Analog Man is pretty much doesn't make any bad pedals. Got good ear for tone. I'm gonna start. Why not? I'll start highlighting some of these questions as I ask them. It's kind of a cool thing. I never do that. Let's see here. Do I know anything about the 100-watt Mark II Marshall heads? Well, I think that's just kind of 70s JMP stuff, right? Isn't it? Is it a 4-input? What is it that you've got there? I get a little fuzzy on when they used the Mark II. Like, I see that on different amps, but maybe I'm wrong. Essentially, you know, in the 70s, when you started seeing that stuff, you had your 100 watt and 50 watt super lead style circuit. They went in 73 to the PC board from the kind of hand wired or turret board or whatever they were called. And then they went to PC late 73, but still used a lot of the same, you know, you see mustard caps and stuff like that through the mid 70s. And then they slowly start going to those, like the different ones, you know. I don't know if they were the orange drop ones or the chiclet ones or whatever you see, but different caps and stuff towards the late 70s. And then, of course, like around 75 or 6 is when they came out with the 2203 and 2204 circuit, which then became the JCM 800 and amps in the 80s, but the same circuit essentially, just a master volume. You know, different sound. They're not my favorite amps, but they can sure be made to sound good. But I'm kind of the 4-input guy. And when they put the Mark II on, because my amp doesn't have that, but I swear you see it on some of the later 70s. Did they put it on the somebody tell me in here if they put it on the master volume ones. You know, I'm not sure. We could look it up, but you know, 100 watt Mark II Marshall heads. If I just like Google that, I wonder what it'll tell us. Let's take a look and see, because I swear I've seen it on 4-input and 2-input master volume style ones. Mark II Marshall. Any information? Yeah, see, I'm seeing like 4-input. Mark I taken from. Yeah, I just don't know. Here's something from the Vintage Marshall Guide. The nomenclature. Okay, I found a really good webpage actually here, and it's on Solo Dallas. I know him. You know, you guys know the fellow that makes the Schaefer boost and stuff like that. I'm just gonna post the link here. This looks. He knows his stuff about old Marshalls. I'll post this in the chat, and you can reference it if you want. There you go. Vintage Marshall Guide. There. Check that out. Yeah, because I get fuzzy. I know what the amps are and what they do from the JTM 45 all the way through to the JCM 900s. I got a pretty good idea of everything they made in the models, but the nomenclature and when they call, you know, it's confusing why they called it the 1959 and the 1987 and the 2203 and the 2204 and, you know, the Club and Country. That's another one, you know, those weird ones. Anybody ever use one of those? They're kind of crazy. They're like basically I think twin reverb style amp essentially. Marshall's take on doing cleaner stuff, but anyways, you guys can see the link there if you want to. Here, I'll just put it right there. There it is up on the screen. I had a 73 super lead, and it was I think you're trying to say super lead there, Christopher Coombs, and it was a Mark II. Yeah, I don't know why they all of a sudden let's put Mark II on them all of a sudden. You know, it's the same. They made changes all the way. I mean, like, you know, and a 67 is not the same as a 68, isn't the same as a 69, isn't the same as a 70. There were subtle changes, but then at one point they put Mark II on them. Anyway. Late to the show, says Loot89. What's up? Nice to have you here. Yeah. Do you know Bob Marlette? Great producer and really nice guy. I have met Bob Marlette. I figure paths will probably cross. I don't know when the last time I saw him is, but yeah, I have met him. Arthur says, Pete, have you seen the angle that Paul Stanley is using on that Ernie Ball video? I haven't. Wow, what a tone. I researched it. It appears to be a one-off just for him. That's, you know, Paul's a real guitar aficionado, I think. I mean, he's really into evidently, like, I got my Gil Yaron, and then I think it was John Shanks got one after me. And then Paul Stanley saw John Shanks, and then he got one. So I think I influenced John to get one, and John influenced Paul to get one after that. And Gil was, you know, he was hot making guitars there for a good, he still is, I'm sure, just does well. But lots of those, that particular, everybody wanted one of those, 59 style for a little while there. And they're awesome. But Paul really digs what he had a Bartlett too recreation, I think, and he's got old bursts and stuff. He's really into old Les Pauls, I think. And so he obviously he's a good guitar player from when I've seen him play, like, just in like sound check clips and things like that. He's a really nice guy too. I talked to him on the phone once for a while, around 2006 or 7, late 2006, early 2007. I remember talking to him on the phone for a while. He was putting a band together then, long story, and he was really cool. I like Paul. Let's see here. What else have we got here? Gary says he saw the jump video with the eruption solo at the beginning. Awesome stuff. Thanks, man. Yeah, that video got a lot of views. It's like up to 1.1 million views or something now, quite a few. So just people want to see if I can actually do it live. It wasn't easy. Some nights I played it better than others on that tour. So every night I was like, okay, here we go. You want to do it good, So I can't go up there and stink up the joint with that one. There's a certain, like, just hit the gas sort of thing with that solo where you just got to, like, just go for it, Scott S says, hi, Pete. Something I've been long curious about. Marshall in a box pedal into a Marshall. Any experience, good or bad? It can work. That's an interesting point. Does that work? I think that many times Marshall in a box pedals do work better into almost like a scooped Fender sounding amp, but yeah, you can do it. And for sure, maybe sometimes it might help to jumper the channels if it's a 4-input style Marshall that you're trying to get the crank sound out of, but at a lower volume. If you jumper a plexitone into the normal channel of a Marshall, can work pretty good. That's interesting because, and you'll see Paul Gilbert use the dark channel on like 100-watt Marshalls a lot. He goes into the normal input and runs some distortion pedals because he's a pedal guy. He gets, I think, all of his gain out of pedals these days. But I always see him plugged into the top right input, the normal volume 2. So you need a bright pedal to go in there. So a plexitone can work really good. A Carl Martin plexitone into that. That might be something that you would investigate. But you didn't mention if it was a 4-input or not. I would probably use the low gain JCM 800 input, for most Marshall in a box style pedals. Excuse me. And that'd probably sound really quite good. Because when I think Marshall in a box, I think of a hard clipping distortion pedal, not an overdrive. And a hard clipping distortion doesn't generally want to run into something that's clipping already. So go for the cleanest and sometimes darkest, input. Mike French says, I want to get a Soldano SLO30. Is it going to be a lot quieter than the 100? I have an EVH, which is too loud. Will the SLO30 be similar? If you're finding EVH lunchbox too loud, I'm guessing you're probably not, like, you're probably using it at home. It's going to be too loud, really. The 30, I mean, a lunchbox is only 15 watts, I think. So I think you're going to find that it's a little much for whatever you're doing. Now, what I would do if I was you is probably get a load box and reamp through a studio monitor or something, because you might be happier, or a full range, like a Sir reactive load or 2 notes or something, and then use a small power amp like the Duncan or something and reamp. That's a lot of gear, though. The other thing you can do is get an Iron Man or something, like an attenuator or a power station. You might invest in a power station, I think. It might make you a lot happier. A Fryette power station. The old ones were $5.99. I'm not sure how much they are now, but it's a great investment in that you can then use your amps as they were designed to be used, crank them up. Because something like an SLO, they're kind of legendary for needing to be turned up a little bit before they hit the sweet spot and don't sound kind of abrasive or something, So yeah, if I was you, I'd look into a power station. What else we got here? And that was a super chat there. Thanks, Mike French. Appreciate that. What else we got here? I'll be learning Groomed Noodler this week, says Dell. I went back and listened to the album. So fun. Thanks, man. I need to go learn it again. I couldn't play it again right now to save my life. I can play the rhythm part, but I can't remember all the licks and everything. I'd have to, I have to do some work. So, I see your UA aux up there, says My Secret Machine. How do you feel about it now, a couple of years after it came out? Do you still use it a lot? I do use it mainly when I want room guitar sounds, because I love the room mic feature on it. Is it worth the somewhat hefty price tag? Well, they're cool. I mean, they have a lot of neat things about them. I mean, the ability to mix in the room mics, the effects, like the 1176 that's in there is really cool. The delay sounds great. I'm using Luna a lot now for recording, and that has I can dial up the terrific effects from UA like in there really easily and stuff. And so with that, I'm kind of using my cab to be honest the most these days. Just because I got it set up, dialed in, it sounds great, and I have it. So it's like for me, but I was thinking about the other day, like I did a lot of my last record using the aux and the reactive load at home. I recorded a lot of Pete Thorn 2 in my old place, like apartment, essentially. And I used speaker sim for that because obviously I'm in a place like that. So yeah, the aux made quite a few appearances on that record and stuff. So it's really good for that kind of thing, And I might actually, I don't actually have I've not had a good setup at home for quite a while now. Like all I have is my little NuX practice amp at home, right? Okay, I have a UA Apollo Twin, and I can plug into that because I have my studio monitors and stuff set up, so I could plug into that and call up the PT100 plug-in and play that. But I don't have an amp at home right now, like a tube amp. So I'm going to bring a PT15 home. There's one sitting back there and a cab back there, and it's my goal to get that home with my Helix and set up my little home rig amp. But I don't want any more than that. I think I've been neglecting doing it because at home started to look like here. In my old place where I had heads, and you guys saw like the videos that I did in my old place. I had like at one point, there's probably like 5 amps in there and stuff. It's like, this is starting to take over my home again, which isn't what I wanted. I'm going to leave that for here because it's a mess in here of guitars and amps and stuff. I just want to keep that here. And then at home, it's kind of nice to not have that. So anyways, I do want to take the PT15 home and maybe the aux, but the PT15 has built-in, it's got the built-in IRs and stuff. So, I didn't have that when I made that record the last time. Moving down to the bottom of the chat, what else we got here? Let's see here. Gary says he needs to send an IR out to front of house. He has a line out from his Friedman. I'll always be using 412 on stage. What would be a good device to take the line out and add the IR? Just a Sir line out box you can use. Sir makes a little box with a pot on it. It's got a ground lift, phase reverse. Just takes a tap off the speaker output. Oh, but you're saying to host, I'll always be using 412. You could get if you just need to host the IR, you could use a Torpedo Live or a Torpedo Cab, right? From 2 Notes. Yeah. And that'll host an IR. And then you can send that out to the front of house. And you just put it in line and then run the speaker through to the cab. You don't need a load box. You just need something that hosts an IR. I used to use Torpedo Lives for that for a while. I was using real cabs on stage, but I had 2 Torpedo Lives in a rack. And really, they were just glorified IR hosts at that point because I had the IRs loaded in there and taking the line out of that to front of house. So they weren't serving as load. They were just passing the signal through to the cabs. Sounds like what you're doing. So you could pick up a used Torpedo Live and do that, or the cab, the new one, even the first one. But the new one has a little bit longer IRs. It's a little more versatile and stuff like that. So other things you could use, something like this, a blue box. This would be cool. This will do it. This has a speaker level in and through on it. And then you can select from a bunch of the different cabs on here. You probably find one in there you like. They do sound really good. The Stack 1971 is awesome. It's a greenback, or is it the Stack 71? I think it's the Stack 1970. It's a G12M 55 hertz IR. Sounds really good. Anyway, that'd be a nice option too. Something like that, simple for live, I think is always good. Sorry, I forgot to highlight the different questions here as I'm going. So, what else we got here? I'm looking for an amp with a great clean channel for a Parker Fly. Your recommendation? The PT15 IR from Sir. What else with great clean channels? The PT100 from Sir. Oh. Honestly, John makes the best channel switcher clean channel, I think, that there is out there. Other amps that have them, I don't know, to be honest. I mean, Friedman's got some that, like the Steve Stevens and his 50 watt when you say clean channel, it really depends on the color you need. If you want more of the, like his 50, what's it called? The small box 50. It's got a very plexy kind of clean channel. But if you want a Fendery clean, it's a different thing. Yeah, I really, honestly, I mean, the PT15, the clean channel is amazing. It's like a Bella style clean. It's a little bit different, but anyway. Natasha Nix is up in the top super duper chat. Same question. Isn't that funny? I just picked that question out of and then you went up there and did it as I was answering it. Anyways, thanks for doing the super chat. I appreciate that. Asking about a great clean channel and also a warm distortion channel. Yeah, honestly, I mean, I gotta recommend my own amp. I have to, right? I don't want to be shill, but come on. That's what it does. It's exactly what you're asking. Great clean channel, and then the overdrive sound. If you want it to sound warm, just turn the brights off. Dial the treble back a bit. You got a very nice warm Marshall drive channel. It's the best. Okay, well, just to be fair, come up with something on a budget. Let me think. Great clean. I would, if I was looking for a head that wasn't my amp and it was like on a budget or something, or maybe if I could find a used Tone Master or something, they got a pretty good clean channel and a nice distortion channel. That was the first thing that came to mind. Maybe there's Mesas that someone can recommend. I don't know. Anyway, Andrew up there in the super chat. Thanks again for Natasha for doing the top chat. I appreciate that. I hope that helps. I wish I had something else to tell you. I feel like there's other amps I should be mentioning that have great clean channels and great overdrive, but somebody else mentioned some other ones down there in the chat. Chat amongst yourselves. Andrew is up there in the top chat. He says, hope all is well. What amp would you recommend for recording indie or classic rock style guitar with pedals? Once again, if you're on a budget, I would say something like a classic 50 is great with pedals. They can be found cheap, inexpensive. They sound great. A lot of great stuff is recorded with those. Actually, I think Pearl Jam used one of those on 10. I think the guitar sound on Alive might be a classic 50. I think. Anyways, they work well with pedals. A Bassman 19. What is it? The 59 Bassman reissue. The 410 Bassman. To me, great classic rock with pedals kind of combo amp. I like those more than most of the reissue Fenders, like more than most of the, say, Blackface Deluxe or something like that with pedals, because of the bright cap and the Deluxe, just something about a Bassman. You can blend the channels if you want, because it's basically a JTM 45 style amp, before JTM 45 existed. But yeah, that can work great too. Those are two good budget, not budget, but you should be able to find those for under $1,000, I would think. Classic 50 for sure. 59 Bassman probably, I would think. Ethan Ricks is up there in the top chat. He says, hi Pete, working on some background music for Instagram videos. Do you have specific tips for making songs you think will be heard via phone speaker? Interesting. Yeah, what can you do? One thing is don't set a limiter for negative 0.1 output. You know what I mean? Or maybe 0.2. Leave a little bit of headroom. Don't go right to 0 dB and slam it in there. That can be helpful because it gets whatever the compression is that's on Instagram and stuff can sound kind of weird when it's a lot of level. Watch your cymbals and your top end. Keep it, if there's a lot of cymbals and a lot of top end going on, it can sound really like aggressively just harsh. So tone down the cymbals and stuff and the drums in your mix. And yeah, make it kind of warm, and make sure there's some bass, because it's kind of amazing. If you mix bass light, you won't hear any. So you need to, and just experiment with bass sounds and making it speak. Because yeah, coming through the phone speaker, it's obviously there's nothing going on below 500 hertz or something. So, but yeah, watch your cymbals and watch your level is all I would say. You don't have to it doesn't have to be hot as hell, and it'll sound better. It sounds better when it doesn't come exploding out of someone's phone when they've been listening to other videos that aren't as loud, Plexico is up there in the top chat. He says, what's a musician to do long-term in this pandemic? What would you tell GIT students coming out of school how to best make a living? Dude, I don't know. I mean, everybody's dealing with it. Obviously, I've got some videos on diversifying, and I think that video probably applies more now than any of the other ones. Like my video in my So You Want to Be a Pro Musician series about diversity will help you through adversity. Because the musicians that are doing the best right now have some sort of side hustle going. Mine is YouTube, Instagram, YouTube, making videos for, be it lesson videos or, different things like that. It's all we've got right now. So diversity will help you through adversity. Check out that video that I did, because I think I kind of touch on some of the things. But certainly if you've got a lesson, any kind of, a course, like Tim Pierce developed that course. I mean, these things take time to develop, and they're, but it's the one thing you can do. You can do online teaching and have something out there that's helping make you maybe a little bit of money when you sleep. If you teach, and there's probably a lot of people in here that teach. If you teach, just know that lesson that you teach and you spend an hour one-on-one with a student, that could be something you're recording and then putting out there on a website, and it's earning you a little income when you're sleeping, because somebody in Greece is buying it, or somebody in Russia is buying it, or, hopefully if you get out there and it disseminates out there and the word gets around, oh, so-and-so's got a great lesson on, jazz improv or on sweep picking or whatever it is, and you can get it out there a little bit. It'll help you during these times. Just being diverse is helpful, and having your own thing is helpful. Not relying on other people, obviously, for income is helpful. If you've got, you have to have an idea and a vision and then see it through, like record a course or something, or develop a YouTube channel, making gear demos like I do, or something else that's interesting. I mean, I've seen a lot of people, you see Andy Wood became very active on YouTube doing his Woodshed series and different things that he's doing. He's a go-getter, he works hard, and he's trying to be creative and come up with things to do. That's all I can say is it's gone 100% online, and what you see me do here for the time being, But somebody asked me about doing a session the other day. I need to get back to them, actually. They wanted me to play a solo on their tunes. Any kind of sessions, anybody recording all over the world, they can send you tracks and you can play a solo and send it back to them. And, so that's a thing too. But yeah, there is no GIT right now. So there's no students coming out of GIT as far as I know. There's nothing going on. So it's such a weird time, but hopefully this is I hear nothing but positive things about these vaccines they're testing, and that hopefully will turn things around within the next 12 months or something as we get further down the road with this thing. Andrew says, he's up there in the top chat. Thanks, dude. He says you're a huge inspiration. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I tend to lose direction, but your stuff is so insanely inspiring. Thank you, man. I lose direction too, believe me. And I need help to stay on track too, but you're saying it helps you regain focus. And I'm sure I speak for everyone when I say thank you. Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate that. I really do. I feel the same way. I mean, I really do. You know, I need sometimes the world gets overwhelming these days, and it's a bit much. And my friend Dennis, he's an insightful, really bright guy, and he said something the other day that I think is great. He said, when the world gets when it gets too big, too much, too big, like you feel out of control and all this crazy stuff's going on in the news and whatever's happening that's driving you crazy, when you feel like it's all too big, go small. And what he meant was focus in on, I'm going to practice classical guitar today. You know, I'm going to learn the solo to this Van Halen song. I'm going to just hone in on making some presets that I really like for my Quad Go or my Helix or my Axe Effects. I'm going to, you know, work on that song that I haven't worked on that I said I was going to complete 3 weeks ago or whatever. Just go small, go into your little thing, turn off the phone maybe and turn off the news and just go small. When it gets too big, go small. I like that, you know. And then I think he said conversely, when it gets too small, go big. But I really like his, I thought that was a great piece of advice, you know, because the world gets overwhelming, doesn't it? Who else we got here? Matt is up there in the top chat. You guys are all too kind. Thank you. Super chat, folks. Other than pickups, how different is the Sir Modern versus the Standard Plus? Great question. It's 24 frets, so that changes things. I have a Modern, but I'm eyeing Standard. Is the Standard Plus isn't 24 frets or anything, right? When you say Standard Plus, I'm not sure exactly. Sometimes the Sir nomenclature of the different guitars that I'm not so familiar with, it gets a little confusing, but I think all the standards are 22. So the difference between 22 and 24, as well as the body shape with the slightly elongated, you know, and the heel contour on a Modern is different with the rounded heel as opposed to the sort of thinner but still square heel on a Standard. So those things are different. You will find. I hope that's helpful. I'm not a huge fan of 24 frets. I do like the Moderns. I have one here. It's an amazing feeling guitar, and it's really fun to play solos on and rip and stuff. If I want true, you know, with my guitar, I feel like I can get truer single coil sounds, which is nice. With tapping the neck pickup, for instance, because to me, 24 frets moves the neck pickup forward out of that, you know, part of the magic of a Strat or whatever, or the single coil underneath where the 24th fret would be, almost that chimey Strat, you know, blowing across the top of a Coke bottle sound. they call it, you know, the Hendrixy thing or whatever. You lose that on 24 fret guitars, I find. So that's the only thing. Ben sent me a super sticker up there. Brian. Sorry, Brian, up there in the top chat. Thank you, man. The super chat. You guys are too kind. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate that. Jose says, have a sandwich on me at Arts Deli on Ventura. Have I been to Arts? Oh, I think I have. I know Arts Deli. I don't go there a lot, but I've been there a few times and I enjoyed it. So thank you, man. I appreciate that. Thanks, Jose. Arts Deli. I think it's the one that's the deli that's in Studio City, right? That's pretty close to across the street from the Wells Fargo and all that, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Thank you, man. And Loot89 is up there as well. He says in the super chat, thanks, brother. He says, as always, love the channel. I know Bukovac is back in the studio being a session man, but have you been able to reach out to him for an interview? I haven't done that. Maybe with Tim Pierce too would be great. I would love to have either of them or both of them at the same time. Yeah, I do have a great guest coming that I mentioned. How many people out there, I wonder, I'll just take a little poll, like, and you can tell me in the thing. I find that it changes the show a bit when I have guests, because I like having guests and I like the idea of having guests, but I wonder if I feel like I answer less technical questions and things when I have guests, because I concentrate more on interviewing them and talking about their career and stuff. And I like actually doing it by myself, to be honest, sometimes, because I feel like I get to more of comments and stuff when I'm on my own. So I want to have guests, but I feel like it's a different show. That's all, when I have guests. And then it changes there's not as much interaction with you guys. That's the thing. It's a little less, although I think it's good to do sometimes, because it would probably get boring just listening to me all the time. But anyways, Tim, always welcome. And Loot 89, I appreciate you doing the top chat. And Tom Bukovac would be welcome as well. Of course, I'd love that. It'd be amazing if he would do it. Okay, what else have we got here? The guests are a nice change once in a while, says Ian. Yeah, okay. Well, Guests are great, and single show is great, says My Knees Hurt. It's a different dynamic with guests, but it's cool to switch it up. So you guys are kind of saying this. You're saying the same thing I am. Maybe a guest once a month or two. Maybe once every 3 shows. So I'm probably well overdue for it. So I think my last guest was actually a vet when I had her on. The interviews are great, says Chris. Okay, it seems like there's demand. So yeah, do one once a month. Okay, that sounds good to me. That sounds really good. Different dynamic with guests, but cool. Yeah, okay. I'll take that into account for sure. Thank you guys for the feedback. Mark, write a song that will change the world. Watch the new Bill and Ted movie. So there is a new Bill and Ted movie, right? I didn't understand that. Is it like, are they old now in the movie? Did they get different guys? What's going on with that? I saw that the other day. I'm so out of it with some of whatever's going on in modern culture. Dennis Timothy Music is up there in the super chat too. Thanks, brother. He says, Pete, I love your guitar playing, your YouTube channel, and especially your Twitter. Thanks, man. You're awesome. Are you working on any new projects? Thank you. That you can tell us about. The main thing I've been working on is just some ideas for some more gear stuff, where I'm trying to come up with interesting things that help musicians do what they want to do. So I do have some ideas. I'm going to be making some presets for line 6. So that's the number one thing for the Helix. So I'll have that soon. I came up with a really fun one. I'm looking at it right now on my Helix over here. I used one of their templates to come up with it, and it's called Two Tones A and B. As with most things with the Helix, there's a template. If you don't find like kind of like the exact string of things that you want to do and you can't figure out exactly how to do it, there might be a template where they've already kind of got it mapped out. And I found that with this Two Tones one. So what I did is come up with a kind of ethereal, really pretty, clean sound, and then ripping solo sound with a bunch of echo. With everything's on tap tempo so that you can tap it in, and then it's got a looper as well, and so you can loop the clean sound and come up with a really nice ethereal kind of part, and then rip a solo on top of it. I get inspired by watching Neil Schoen on Instagram, and he's always playing over tracks and ripping on 8. It seems like the guy has the biggest guitar collection in the world. I mean, it's like literally it would be like from Monday to Friday he'll have a, just got to do 57 Les Paul, and here's a new burst that I just got, and here's a Tom Anderson, and here's a James Tyler, and here's one of my original guitars from the 80s, this Neil Schoen signature guitars, and he's playing a different guitar like every day. It's like he almost never repeats. So anyway, but he's always ripping over tracks. So I was like, I got to get something going so I can lay down a bed and then solo on top of it and just improvise. So anyway, that's one of these presets I came up with for the Helix. It's really cool, I think. It's like this 2 sounds that you can A-B between, nice clean sound. And so that's one of the sounds. And I'm going to make 10 of them or something for my first pack. And I'll do it for Helix. And I might need to do different ones for Pod Go, because there's things you can't do in the Pod Go that you can do in the Helix. But anyway, so that's something I'm working on. And then, just some more I'm working with Sir on some things that I'm excited about and stuff. Musically, not really right now, but actually one of the things that's coming from Sir, I want to do an EP for. So once it's created and I can have it, then I want to like create an EP with it as kind of like a thing to, spread the word or whatever, that we've got this thing or whatever. So Eddie's up there in the top chat. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. You guys are all too kind. Dennis, Eddie, Andrew, thank you. Thank you. What else have we got going here? Hey, Pete, what would be better with SLO 100, PAF style or hot? Well, it really depends on what you're doing. I mean, the amp has plenty of gain. So I think you're fine with a PAF as far as gain. The amp has too much gain, in my opinion. Like you don't really get the gain past 5 or 6 without ending up like, well, there's just more than I ever need now, So I think you're actually fine with a PAF. You might get more clarity, and I would probably, I would say, there's no hard and fast rule. A humbucker with more mids might sound really something like my Nags. It'd sound really cool, I'm sure. It depends on the sound you're going for. It's a good question. Let's take an amp that has tons of gain and try hot pickups into it and see if that's still something you would want. Maybe that would be a video that I should make. What's Yeah, it's kind of a cool idea, actually. You make me think. Will you make any presets for HX Stomp? I guess I could. I hadn't thought of that. I thought of them just doing them for the main Helix and then also for the Pod Go, but I guess it makes sense to maybe the Pod Go ones would translate well to the HX Stomp. Less. Yeah, that's a good idea. You're right. Why limit it? You guys give me all kinds of ideas. You guys want to be my manager? I think just collectively, all of you. Oh God, I'm not gonna make very much money if I got to give all you guys 10%. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna end up owing. It was a terrible idea. Anyways, HX Stomp. Yeah, there's no reason I couldn't convert Pod Go presets into HX Stomp ones, I think, and then just have a separate package for that. So, Stevie Salas did the guitars on the first Bill and Ted. Steve Vai on the second, and on this final installment is Tosin Abasi. Is it? Really? How interesting. I think that also some of my friends, because I saw they were posting videos about it. My friends Shane Gallus and Corey Churko, some dudes that I know did something for it musically. So I haven't seen it. So I didn't even know it existed other than to see their posts, to be honest, and be like, is there a new Bill and Ted? I wasn't sure, but anyway, Bill and Ted, same guys, and they are older now. Haven't watched it yet. Saw a favorable review. They said it's more in line with the first one. Okay. I'm down with watching that. That sounds fun. Anyways, okay. Keanu Reeves is a talented musician, bass and guitar, says L. Scott Music. He had his own band. I remember they used to play the Viper Room all the time. What was his band called? Dog Star, right? Remember that? That was a long time ago now. It was like 20 years ago he had that band. It's crazy. Can't believe the amount of time has passed. Anyways, let's see here. Prince Westerberg is saying that a producer phoned up Eric Clapton to appear and got me thinking, could we get him on Pete Thorn's show? I don't think somebody like Clapton would do my show. I don't think they would. You never know. That'd be amazing, wouldn't it? If he just showed up one week, you guys would freak. I would too. Let's see. Who else we got here? I am having like a super cool guest though. I do have like somebody. I'm not gonna tell you who it is yet, but he's super cool. So, and he's a legend. So that is kind of happening. It's not Eric Clapton, but he's a badass. That'll be in about a month, something like that. Pete, what do you think about germanium pedals? Well, overall, depends on so much more of the design of the pedal, but I like a good germanium fuzz, and I tend to like that sound for when I want to play the Hendrixy vintagey thing more than the silicon style, which always sounds a little harder to me and more like Sabbath, but that's a gross generalization because there was silicon fuzz faces and they could sound really cool, but they're always a little raspier and harder sounding to me. Whereas the germanium always has this gooey warmth, but it's largely dependent on the circuit, on other things that are going on with the pedal. And it was pointed out to me because I always said, the germanium pedals clean up well. Well, silicon ones do that too. It's more to do with the impedance of the pedal and other things to do with the design than it is that whether it's, the type of diode that's in it. But nonetheless, germanium fuzz, germanium treble booster, I like all that stuff. They're just temperamental. That's the only thing. Sometimes, heat can affect them. Be a thermal thing, or it's like, what happened? My fuzz sounds different. I've been on stage and it's 85 degrees outside on a hot summer night or something like that, and the fuzz doesn't sound so good antemore. Why does my sound like it's melting? So they can kind of be a little more temperamental. Yeah. Is the Lurks worth it? Is that are you talking about the Alex Lifeson Jubilee kind of clone amp that Mojotone makes? Because I think that's Lexhurst, not Lurkshurst. I don't know how to say it exactly, but I'm wondering if that's what you're talking about. That was Lexhurst. Yeah, Somebody else is saying. I don't know, to be honest. I think they make a combo now too, don't they? Alex's tones, to me, I love the, when he was using the Marshall Club and Country or whatever the heck they were, and then the high watts and stuff. Those are my favorite Alex sounds, to be honest. And even some stuff in the 80s when he was using like a Gallion Kruger and stuff. I love all that stuff. When he started using Hughes and Kettner and stuff like that later, it sound just, which I don't want to pick on those amps or anything like that. I think they make some good stuff, but it just got a little more generic to me. That's the only thing. Like a lot of people that went to master volume, modern, more gain stage kind of amps, right? More distortion. It had less character. There was something about the way that he used to run his rig when he ran. I read a whole article about it, and it made sense to me. Alex used to run those, like around the Grace Under Pressure tour signals. He was running those Marshall combos, and he ran one clean and one dirty, evidently, and then they would blend them. And it was like, that's how he's doing it. And he would play one part, like, he'd play all the way through or whatever, but then you'd hear the sound get cleaner and stuff. And I think in the mix, they were just varying the amps, like with the clean sound and the dirty. It was kind of amazing, and I don't even think it was stereo. Like, I think it was just the clean and the dirty blended at different levels. And that's why his sounds, his arpeggios and everything all had a great articulation when they could be dirty too. So I found that interesting, and I hope I've got that right, but that's the way I understood it, that they would actually blend a clean and dirty combo amp. And then those were my favorite sounds that he was doing, from pretty much from Moving Pictures through to some of the guitar sounds on like Signals. That's not people's favorite record if they're like old school Rush. They love Hemispheres and all that. But for me, Signals it's partially because that's when I started listening. But I was talking about it the other day, Digital Man. I love that song. And I love some of the stuff on Grace Under Pressure is super underrated too. It's kind of a dark album, but it was great. And the tones and stuff is so cool. Pie Pete, you got me into Sir. Thank you. I just got to Ombre. It's a game changer. That was up in the top chat there, and I just missed the end. I'm going to go back and find you. Where are you there? There it is. Thanks for doing the top chat, Jeff. He says, sounds 3D. John's recent setup guide on Tone Talk is great. Yeah, he gave up some goods on there about how he does truss rod and stuff. Yeah, I thought it was great too. And also about doing intonation if nobody's seen it. John does intonation by measuring, instead of the open note in the 12th fret, many times he'll do the 3rd fret and then like the 15th fret on a string, some more of the fretted notes, and he checks intonation that way. And you can do that, you could do the 3rd fret or the 1st fret or the 2nd fret and the 14th and go, and check those too and just kind of try and average it out. And it's interesting. But I remember him telling me that a long time ago as well. I'm glad you like the Ombre. I love mine. It's just fun. I plugged it in and I had so much fun the other day playing through. I was like, God, I didn't want to stop playing, which is always, a great sign. What a great amp it is. I'm going to make a video for it. I'm going to do like probably this week, do like a ZZ Top kind of track. I want to come up with something that sounds like it came off, the first ZZ Top album. Because I feel like that's not out there yet with that, with like, nobody's done that yet with the amp, with videos or anything. So, yeah. Neil says he's using a Boss tube amp emulator with his Mesa Boogie to attenuate and reamp. How do I set the Nomad master volume to find the sweet spot? Well, it's whatever sounds good, honestly, to when it's not too mushy or blurry, I guess, as far as clarity goes, because as the amp is as the power tubes and everything are starting to sag and that kind of thing, you just want to set it so that there's still, it's always a balance of like clarity and getting the right amount of squish, I guess, that's what I find. Let's see here. Here's a question from Todd. He says, now you're using Luna's model pre's. Do you feel you'll use outboard mic preamps as much, if at all? In clips, I can tell a difference. Worth the extra bucks for real pre's? Well, I use, to be honest, I use my 1073s. I have BAE 1073s, and that's my main mic pre's these days. So I've got a 57 and a ribbon mic, an ST170 on a cab in the other room. So I've got a Marshall cab. I could do a video on this whole thing actually, but I've got my old 412 that I bought, and it's an angle cab. I wish it was a straight cab, but the one that had the speakers I wanted and that sounded the best to me was an angle cab. The day that I went and looked, because the guy had a few. He had some cabs that had 30-watt Celestions, but they were G12H30s, and he had blackback 25s in this other cab, and it was a straight cab, so I got that cab because that's what I wanted. I find miking the speaker that has the most depth on an angle cab sounds like, in other words, the bottom speaker sounds best, but sometimes when it's close to the floor, you can get some reflection off the floor, and it's kind of weird. So I got the idea to flip the cab upside down. So actually, I have my Marshall cab in the other room is upside down with the angle on the bottom. And then I'm miking now what is the top speaker, what would have been the bottom speaker, right? Because it's flipped up. And you've got then the depth in the cabinet, and those speakers always sound a little fuller to me. So that's something that I'm doing that I guess I've never mentioned before. But miking the bottom speaker flipped upside down. And then I've got the 57 and the ribbon on there. I've got my new mic, the Dynamount, so I can move the 57 around, although I never do for the last few weeks because I found a great spot for it, and I'm paranoid to even move it, and it just sounds really good. And then I blend coming out of the 1073 into one line out. It's got this, what they call a Steve Stevens mod, which is a built-in summing amp, summing both the mic signals to one line out. And I've just plugged that into input 1 on my Apollo. And that's what I'm using. So I'm not really using the mic pre, in other words, right now, for mainly. Now I have used them and I like them. The 1073s and the API and the, some of the different ones in the UA can sound really good. Is it worth it? I've never done a direct AB. I guess I could do one with maybe I should just do the 57. That'd be another good video. You guys are giving me all kinds of great ideas this week. I mean, how does the BA 1073 compare to the 1073 at the exact same gain level in the UA? And then we'd listen and know, I guess, the modeled one versus the real one. But yeah, I've got the APIs as well in here, and I just have one of the APIs on my ribbon mic here in the room for my little Fender combo, and maybe sometimes I'll use the Ombre in here as well now. But I've got a little Fender Princeton and the Ombre, so I got a couple combos that are that's kind of cool. I've got the Ombre there, and then I could easily throw this mic on that and use that for some stuff in here. And have some options, for doing combo amp stuff as well. And so for that, I've got API with the ribbon mic, an API A2D, which is just 312 style pre's. So yeah, sorry if I wasn't clear on that stuff. Like, yeah, I am mainly using, good pre's from API and Neve style pre's. What else do we got here? Moving down. L. Scott Music, that's Lauren. He says the upside down angle cab must make for a different room dynamic too, since it's bouncing off the floor first thing. Well, so I'm miking the top though, right? Like the mic is, so I've flipped it upside down so I can have the most depth of the cabinet. Those speakers are now high up off the ground, higher, and that's what I'm miking is one of the top. I think it's the top right one. Now would have been the bottom left. Spun it around. Now it's the top right. and then I've got a plexi shield all the way around it with that, foam on the inside or whatever, the stuff that soaks up, and a thing on top. Because my room that actually you've seen it, Lauren. So it's like, but it's not, it doesn't sound like anything. It's just a storeroom kind of with carpet on the floor or whatever. So, I seal it up to keep it quieter in here because it's got a normal man door on it, but it's not a closed, proper, sealed up space. So I'm trying to keep the volume down so I don't bug other people in my building and stuff like that. One of these days, maybe I'll have a studio that's got a full blown, real deal room and all that. But what is the best speaker cable and what is the best gauge, says Brexall? It's a good question. Oops. Ben Coombs says, nice. I hit the wrong one. There we go. Best speaker cable and best gauge. You want to use I think that if it's a short cable run, it doesn't matter as much. You can use 16 gauge speaker cable or something. But like the smaller the gauge cable, in other words, it's the heavier cable. I tend to like for speakers. So I go, generally speaking, like, I guess it's 14 or 13 or something. The ones I've got running from here all the way into my live room are 13, I think, which is kind of weird, but it's that Sonox cable, I think it's called. It's from Europe. And I've got 2 lines running from in here all the way over there. And it's 100 feet of speaker cable. So you want to use the heavier gauge stuff for that, for the real long runs, you know. Roy says, hey, Pete, thanks so much for inspiring videos and sharing your knowledge. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Any recommendations for a good neck single coil for a 24 fret guitar? Well, that's Steve. I would just use whatever you would normally use in a 22 or 21 fret guitar. But I mean, I like the Surs, the V63s and V60 LPs are the ones I always use. Like I was saying, I'm not a huge fan of 24 fret guitars for that. As a matter of fact, I have 21 frets on some of the latest guitars I've had made. I'm going the other way. I'm going less frets. I kind of like where you would play the 22nd fret. I like just having to bend, you know, if you're going to bend the 22nd to the 24th to hit that octave E, I kind of like bending the 21st up to the minor third, because it's old school. It's cool. You know, it sounds like you're working harder. So, but that doesn't really answer your question. But yeah, I would use either V60 LP or V63 from Sir. Do you reamp your effect for your effects videos? Do I reamp? That's Kyle. Well, sometimes I use the power station because I don't want to hammer. My cab in the other room has 25 watt speakers in it. So if I'm running a loud 100 watt head, I do tend to use the power station and turn it on. And I'm running through the power station all the time, but you can bypass it. And it's just got like a through. But the second I go to a really loud amp that's going to pummel that cab, I'll turn on the power station and back it down a little bit. So now I'm loading and reamping using that. So I do that in order to, I don't want, those are vintage speakers and it's an old cab and I don't want to blow them, you know. I like that cab. So then I'll go a little easier on it and I'll do reamp in those situations, I guess. What else have we got here? Have you ever tried any Jupiter effects pedals? Jupiter, is that what the JPTR? I think they have amazing tones, but don't sound like any others. Best demos are on 60 Cycle Hum. I haven't heard those pedals. I'm sorry. I should go check them out. Do you ever use jazz chorus amps? I have. Not since the 80s. A friend of mine used to use one with pedals. He was a good guitar player too. You know, like for a while, guys in the 80s were running like Metal Zones or Boss heavy metal pedal into a jazz chorus. You know, they would get a jazz chorus. It just to kind of be like, it's probably not that much different than what people are doing now, like clean solid state amps like quilters and things, and then running pedal boards and things, to be honest. But generally speaking, I like jazz chorus for that one sound. And, you know, Billy Duffy's rig always sounded great. And he ran jazz choruses and Marshalls, you know, so Marshall for dirty and jazz chorus for clean. That's a great way to go. Christopher Kroom says, he's up there in the top chat. Thanks, buddy. He says, thanks for all you do. What do I think about the Germino before the mods? How did it compare with your Super Leader or Sir SL68? It was really great sounding in a Malcolm Young kind of way. It's got stiff filtering in it, and it sounded a little cleaner than the SL68. You could get a little less gain out of it, it seemed like, but a great sound, kind of a little bit more on the warmer side, and just a little less aggressive. Wonderful sound. It was a really good sound. And then I did the mods to it now, and it's actually, I can still feel like mostly get that sound out of it. So Dave, we kind of tried to do it that way. I was like, if I could still get it to sound like it does, because when I plugged it in, it was like, oh my God, this amp sounds really good as it is. I almost don't want to touch it. And then I was just like, all right, that's not what I got it for. I've already got a couple that are more stock. So let's do this thing to it. But I find I can it still sounds pretty much old Plexi when I, you know, don't use the extra Jose gain boost thing and all that, and just kind of turn the masters way up and then use the post phase inverter. It's got 3 masters in it. It has a pre-master, post EQ master, and then a post phase inverter master, you know. But Dave did it in a way that makes them really transparent. So it's pretty neat. It sounded great though, just a little cleaner, clean and tough, and nice, like really good, great sounding amp, man. I recommend them highly if you want to get something like that. It's a Headroom 100. Any tips on getting good tones from the aux for recording? Use built-in compressor or add it later, just trying to get good dirty Marshall-y tones. I probably wouldn't use a compressor for dirty Marshall-y tones. One thing I would do is, let me just, I don't know if I can, I don't know how to highlight that actually. Anyways, dirty Marshall-y tones in the aux. I would recommend, I think it's this, there we go. Got it up on the screen there. I would recommend using one of the greenback cabs. If you like a little darker and warmer, use the thick cab. The punch cab can sound a little better if you need to cut through punch. It's got a little less lows and stuff. Try running the mics off axis because they can be a little harsh, I find, in the aux if they're on axis. So the 57 off axis and maybe the 67 off axis, and that can sound good. And don't be afraid to go in an EQ a little bit too. You've got that great EQ in there you can turn on. And yeah, do that and blend in a little bit of room, and that's the key, right there. But those greenback cabs are to me the way to go to get dirty Marshall-y tones on the aux. Most of the other ones I'm not as much of a fan of, but the V30 ones are good for more modern stuff. But vintage Marshall-y tones go that route. My favorite cabs in the aux are the greenback ones, the V31, the 410 Bassman style cab, as well as the Vox AC30 style one. Christopher Butler says, do you ever go back and listen to In Good Company and get the same goosebumps I do? It's perfect. Thanks, man. That's one of my favorite songs off the record, and I can't take thanks for saying that. I can't take that much credit because really it's as much to do with Laurie and Tim. They just played so beautifully, But I was going for a Pink Floydy stony. I want you to get the goosebumps on that song. I was going for the just that really stony groove and the nice, kind of E minor chord progression that you could just play over and wail, And they killed it. Their solos are so good. They did such a nice job on it. Honestly, thanks for saying that. I really appreciate it. That makes me feel good that was your response to it. Yeah. What else have we got here? I'm just trying to make sure I didn't miss anybody in the top chat. I don't think I did, but I may have. So I'm just scanning the chat here, guys. Sorry for one sec. Oh, okay. Yeah, I got everybody, I think. That was Christopher. Thanks, man. Who else we got here? I'm just reading through, looking for questions and stuff now. I'll choose my next boost for my 800. Harlow or Golden Pearl? What's the Harlow? I forget that pedal. That's Stephen Douglas asking that. The Golden Pearl is great. That's Dave's. The Buxton Boost is great too. I'm not sure if the Golden Pearl has the low trim on it like the Buxton Boost does. It might, because Dave's big on that. But both of those will sound really good. What's the Harlow? I'm forgetting. And, a good treble boost is always a fun thing too. Yeah. Hi, Pete. Would love recommendations for the drive boost on channel 2-3 of the PT15. Different types of pedals that work well. Thanks, Daniel. I would recommend the Archer because I love a good clone. Different things would be a Coco is awesome too. A Sir Coco. It's a mid boost, and with the bright switch on, with the treble booster, things would get a little out of control maybe. But with the Coco boost with the mids, you can boost the low mids or the mid mids, or pick. It gives you a similar with an amp with a bright cap. Using a mid boost is a great thing because it won't take your head off like a treble booster will, which weren't really designed to be used with a bright amp. They're really designed to. They're almost like a Band-Aid. They were designed to brighten up a dark amp. So the mid boost is a wonderful thing to try to kind of get that sound because it's all a combination of some of the parts. So going for something like a Coco boost is a great sounding lead pedal into something like the PT15. As a matter of fact, I'd for the next touring I do, whenever that happens ever again, I'd love to get the single Coco boost on my board somewhere, try and fit it. wonder if Kevin can make a mini one. Maybe he can miniaturize it and just put the mid boost into a pedal for me. That would fit somewhere on my board, I think. But as it stands right now, I do have the Unit 67 on there, which is kind of similar in that that's a real good pedal too. Unit 67 and the PT15 is pretty cool because you can use it into the clean channel too. You know, it's a really unique pedal from Drybill that's got a Rangemaster style kind of treble booster in it. It's also got bass and treble controls, and then it's got a compressor and a clean boost. So the compressor is kind of 1176 derived, evidently, and it's just kind of a unique combination of things in a pedal that ends up being kind of like a boost tone shaper compressor that really works good. Like I said, mainly I used it into the clean channel, but other pedals you could use into the dirty channel. I mean, a good 808 is cool too. I like that JHS one. The what's it called? The Bonsai or something? The you know, it's I think that's what it's called, right? It's basically every flavor of Tube Screamer. So that's a real good pedal. But something like that, or you know, like this guy, the Vemram, is a fancy Tube Screamer. It's more like this is probably just as much got going on as with a Jan Ray as it does with the Tube Screamer. But that's a good set. Jan Ray is cool too. Kind of underrated into a dirty sound. I think most people use it for a Nashville thing or something into a clean sound, but it can sound good into a dirty thing too. So just kind of anything soft clipping really, or a mid boosty will work good. So that encompasses Tube Screamers and Klons, and as well as, you know, boost like the Coco. What is your favorite Synergy modules? That's a good question. So far, the ones that I really that I've played that I think are really cool, the Plexi one is really nice. Dave's BE one is great. The BEBB one is really nice because it's got the combination of the Fendery clean and then the high gain, you know, modded drive. It's very useful, you know, that BEBB, especially if you're just gonna have one module, you can cover a lot of ground. There's a good clean and dirty, you know. That thing does that quite well. The Steve Vai one is unique and interesting. It's got a really great clean channel. That's a very scooped kind of lovely sounding, you know, think of Vai with his kind of, you know, when he gets clean, real stringy and mid cut and all that. It's really nice for that stuff. So with chorus or effects, you know, it can sound really great. And then the lead sound is unique. It's got a bit of a scoop to it and unique, and it's that smoother thing of his sound. It's cool. What are some of the other ones I like? I like the Engel Savage a lot for dirty. It sounds, just because it sounds so different than anything else I have, which is, like I say, I was on a hunt for some high gain flavors that maybe just for some variety, you know, that's hence the Soldano and stuff like that. So it definitely has that. The Savage has got that, you know, it's grindy and modern and stuff. And then the video that I'm doing right now, let me just show you guys. It's for this guy, which just came out. And I'm going to try and get this video done today and get it out tomorrow or Tuesday morning at the latest. This is the Pitbull module. So this has a graphic, as you can see on it. A graphic EQ, which comes post distortion, I do believe, and allows you to shape the tone. This thing sounds great. Really cool. And it reminds me of, I remember trying a 50 CL back in the day. One of the VHT, you know, with the graphic, and I really liked that amp. It sounded really good. I was in kind of a modern band at the time, and I almost got it, and I didn't. I got something else, I think. I don't even remember what I ended up with, but it was a total contender. Sometimes I have trouble. There we go. Sometimes I have trouble with all kinds of things. No, sometimes I have trouble seating Synergy modules, but it's not their fault. It's my operator abuse. What are some of my other favorite Synergy models? Those are the main ones that came to mind. I like that Deliverance one I tried to recently. That was really good. I did a video. It's got a raw kind of sound that I like. That's kind of what I've experimented with as of late. You know, so those are the ones that I'm gonna pick as some faves. Let's see, what else have we got here? Thanks for the EVH eruption lesson. 12 years ago now. It was a long time ago. That's the best one I've seen to date. That's from Baron Guitar. Thanks, man. Really helped me to get the swing type licks. Yeah, that's the main thing with that solo is the feel. If you can get the feel, then it's like, there it is. Starts to sound like it, you know. Have you done a video on the Neural DSP, the Plini? No, I haven't actually. I like what those guys are doing though. They're doing some cool stuff for sure. Interesting. I mean, it's really forward-thinking companies these days doing interesting stuff. Enjoyed your Boss EQ200 demo. EQ pedals are underrated for just how powerful and useful they are. Totally. Yeah, that's the neat thing about that module is that it's got that EQ in it, and you'll see me use it in the video because you can really carve out space for the rhythm guitars and then leave space for the lead guitars and do different things with the voices, which makes it very versatile. And on the 2 channels on that, you can have the EQ only active on 1 channel, and it's very helpful. You know. Yeah. Somebody says they're checking Sweetwater now. I wonder if it's for that. I've got a Sweetwater link down in the video description below. If you click on there, it helps my channel. It does. So a little bit of love for the Sweetwater folks. Let's see. What else we got here? What are your favorite modern Vox style production amps? I have heard Dave Friedman saying nobody's making a properly good copper top one and that he wants to make one. That's interesting. I'd love to see Dave's take on it for sure. Yeah, I kind of think that that's largely true. Like, I think that that Morgan has done some cool things. My Vox is this one, and it's pretty darn good. RSA 31. This is essentially a top boost AC30 with a couple changes. It does have a mid-range control on it. And then it's got of course, the 5781 or whatever it is. I can't remember what the tube is. It's like an EF86 style channel, but it's a different pentode tube that he uses. That's a fun amp that I've had for 15 years. But yeah, copper top AC30. Dave actually has one. He has a nice one, so he's got a good amp to kind of model it off of if he does do one. Yeah, I can't really think of any others right now that are, to be honest. I mean, they're probably out there, but I haven't messed with a lot of those. Like there's the JMI and I don't know. I don't know anything about those amps. I've never tried them. So I think there is a space there to make a really beautiful AC30 that's super faithful. Loot 89 says, I wish Sweetwater was a SIR dealer. I do too. There's a lot of politics involved though. SIR has a really robust kind of dealer base that is smaller dealers and the more mom and pop stuff. And when you go to the big, I love the Sweetwater folks and stuff, but there is a thing where it's like if everything's there and if that's the place that it's a little bit of an Amazon-like thing. I don't want to get in any trouble or compare it, but there is that. It's good sometimes to have some diversity, right? With where you buy things and stuff. And, if we all, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, because it's like they've got a obviously very successful business model. I buy a lot of things from Sweetwater. So, but you do tend to, I think there's a thing with I don't want to, I shouldn't talk too much about this because I don't want to sound like I'm speaking for anybody because I'm not. But I think there is a thing with like guys know when you go to Sweetwater, it's like a lot of your eggs are going into that basket, and maybe you might hurt smaller dealers and things like that because a lot of people are going to buy from Sweetwater then, and you've cultivated relationships with a lot of these folks over the years, with maybe smaller guitar stores and stuff that actually really just kind of can't compete with that, and you need to help them and prop them up. I think if it's because Sweetwater is a great idea, it's a brilliant business model, so I guess it's the ethics and stuff like that involved and stuff, and Chicago Music Exchange is a SIR dealer and they are close, says Lydia. And that's true. That's a wonderful store. That's an amazing store, man. I haven't been there for a long time, but I'd love to be on tour and I'd love to be playing the Metro this week and go into Chicago Music Exchange, stopping in, that'd be great. One can dream. what else have we got here? Let's see. It's 1:21. I'm going to split pretty soon. I've been gone about 2 hours. I'll go another 10 minutes or so, and then I'm going to split. Let's see. Let's see. Finished building a parts caster with roasted maple compound neck. Do you have a preferred method for setting the bridge radius? I'm an idiot, dude. I go by feel, I literally just set it up by, I'll literally just find kind of the G. I guess what I do is I find the G and the D, the height for the middle strings. And then I just visually radius the bridge after that. And then I just go by sound. If one's fretting out too much or getting a little too much rattle, that saddle's got to come up. And the bridge always ends up looking radius properly when I'm done. But I do it totally by feel. I don't have any gauges or anything like that. So I'll set the G and the D and make sure that they're about the right height. And I can feel that, like if I'm setting up a bridge from scratch. I did it recently for my white, I don't know where they go. Oh, it's in the hallway. My white classic that has the 6-screw Godo style bridge. I put the saddles on it. The Wilkinson saddles, and by the way, which worked great. It helped the tuning stability on that guitar, tenfold. But I of course had to start from scratch with the saddle height, replacing the saddles, and I just did it by feel, and I got it within 15 minutes or something to where it was just about right, So I never measure. Anyways, yeah, that was Dennis up there. In the okay. What else we got? Harley Hex says he still has all his ADA rack gear. That's interesting. That's cool. That's I remember that stuff that when the ADA pre came out, I was like, oh god, we got to try that. And Paul Gilbert, it's like MIDI pre that you can program. Cool. Arthur says, by the way, big kudos on your rendition of Shy Boy on your Steve Vai modded amp video. Seriously crushing. Thanks, man. I had to practice it for a couple days to get that first lick. Is the fast lick that goes into the body of the tune coming out of the intro. Oh, man. It's fast. I had to warm up so that I didn't get tendonitis. Okay. Oh, you guys were talking about Metaltronics stuff, pre's here and stuff. I still like my Metaltronics GP1000. Once in a while, I'll throw it into my JCM 800 in dual mono. I remember clearly taking one of those Metaltronics preamps home when I was 16, because when I was 16, we moved to a new house, and it was in my first bedroom. So I was 15 or 16 years old, and I remember that GP1000 and taking it and plugging it into my Marshall Lead 100 MOSFET. The music store in my local town knew I was crazy and I would buy a lot of stuff, and they would lend me things. So they lent me that GP1000 to take home and try with my amp. And it was a little confusing because it was like it had all the mid shift on it and, 5-position mid switch stuff and all that. I thought I was going to plug it in and just sound like Steve Vai or something. I was going to have tonal nirvana all of a sudden. And it was like, this sounds kind of weird. How can I get this to? And I think I ended up getting it to sound pretty good, but I didn't know exactly how I was supposed to run it, like into the effect return of the amp, or if it was supposed to be, run into the front. I just wasn't sure. It was a little confusing. JJ Music is up there in the super chat, and he's sent me 25 something or others. Not sure what denomination that is. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Thanks for being here. All right, down to the bottom of the chat, and there's JJ. Thanks, buddy. Pete, do you think a Fender Spring reverb unit would sound? Oh, I just lost that. Where was it? Oh, there it is. Would sound weird through a closed back 412. Is it important the sound is open back? That's a good question. Reverb can always, to me, sound kind of. It depends on the sound you're going for. I mean, so much of the tone of, if you want like a spring vintage, something that sounds expansive and bouncy, and like if it's surf tone or if it's Stevie Ray Vaughan, Lenny, or whatever it is that, part of that sound to me is a combo and sound coming out of the back, and there not being too much of the Marshall push the forward, thing. So it can feel a little weird putting effects sometimes in 412s that you might want to be the kind of ambient thing that spreads around the room. I know what you mean. But a spring reverb it's a great thing, you know. They're kind of problematic in some ways, I find. I mean, you can get ground loops and weird things, but there's nothing that sounds like them, you know. Fender spring reverbs are definitely cool. I think I just missed somebody in the top chat. Who's that? Sorry. Oh, it's a question about headphones. There you are. JJ, once again. Thanks, man. Any headphones you would recommend for guitar track recording? I've for many years used the Sony 7506s. They're very bright though. I know that, but I know kind of in the same way I know what an NS10 is supposed to sound like. I know what guitars are supposed to sound like on those. So that said, I've gone to these CB1, I think they're called. I always forget the name. They have it printed so small on the edge of the headphone, but these are like $60 or $70. There it is. Oh my God. Where's my glasses? Consider the age. Just consider for a minute. SACB1. SACB1-SM. Search for CB1 headphones you'll find these will pop up. You'll see what they look like. This is a company that contacted me a while ago and said, we've got these headphones that are getting great reviews. They're very inexpensive and they sound awesome. Would you want to check out a pair? And I said, sure. And I got them. And sure enough, they just sound like really full, but not too bassy or anything, just balanced. And they're more balanced sounding than the old 7506s that I've used forever. So I started using them and I've gotten kind of accustomed to them. I quite like them. So those are what I would recommend, the CB1. And it's SA. I can't even remember the name of the company. Small company that, you know, but that's what I've been using. Guitar Center, the Sterling headphones are some other ones that I actually got recently and quite like for the dough. Sterling, what are these called? These are the 400s or something or other. S400. That's these ones. Sterling S400. These are quite nice too. I really like the Sterling gear. It's the Guitar Center brand of mics, and you know, it's kind of their budget. They do, like I say, the ribbon mic. I use it on my cab in the other room. It's called a ST170. It's a $200 ribbon mic that is active, you know, big tall ribbon with a preamp in it that sounds awesome. I don't know. They make good stuff. So there's some recommendations. What else you guys talking about? Al Acoustic says, boom, I hit that like button. Thanks, man. Yeah, please hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed the show. We've been going about an hour and 56 minutes. I'll go another 5 minutes or something like that, and then I'm going to split. $59 on Amazon, says Joe, for those headphones. That's right. They're inexpensive, and they sound really good, man. I mean, you'll be surprised. I showed them to my buddy, good old Dave Friedman, as well. And I was like, am I crazy, or do these sound really good? And he tried them. He's like, these are awesome. Like, sound really balanced. Like, you know, they're really sweet. And they have a reputation for it. You'll see online, like, people are like, these headphones, you know, have no right to sound as good as they do for what they're charging. So it's good stuff. Love the solo show, says Mike. Thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, I get more questions in. I feel like that's the only thing, is when I do these on my own. But it is nice to mix up with guests every now and then. 380 plus, but only 170 likes, says Loot89. That's right. Hit that like button. Thanks, folks. Do you blend the ribbon mic with the dynamic mic, says Mike? Yes, that's what I do. I have the ST170 on a cab in the other room with a 57 that's on a Dynamount robotic mic thing, so I can get the 57 just the perfect in the perfect position. The 170 I just have in a fixed position, and truth be told, I use it at a much lower level. The 57 is the majority of the sound, but yes, I run them both into a BAE 1073 dual mic preamp with a summed output coming out of it, blended to one track generally, and I've got the generally speaking, that ribbon mic is mixed 6 to 10 dB underneath the 57. Just, I bring it into where you can just hear it filling out the sound. You know, the primary sound is the emphasis on the wrong syllable. The primary sound is the 57. Yeah. Somebody else is recommending Audio Technica ATM 50. I can agree with that. That's Lauren. A little bassy for me, but I like him. Good, you know. Patrick Carroll says, how close are you to Sunset Boulevard? I can be there in 12 minutes from here if I wanted to be without traffic. Something like that. Yeah. Pete, did you see that several UAD employees lost their homes during the California fires? That's Mike. That's right. I did see that, and I'm glad you brought that up, actually. There's a GoFundMe. They've actually hit their goal, but I posted it on both my Instagram the other day, maybe on Facebook as well, I think. But the link to the GoFundMe, and I went and donated some cash because they're nice folks, and they've had a terrible, I think it's like 40 of their employees. A lot of people have been displaced due to the fires in Northern California. So if you're a UA fan, I'm glad you reminded me about that. Please go donate their GoFundMe. Help those folks out because they need help right now. Stephen Douglas says Harlow is the Bogner pedal with the Neve transformer. That's right. I remember that. And I remember it's quite a good pedal. I like all those Bogner pedals, by the way. There's little sort of sleepers, the ones with the Neve transformers. Really, really nice sounding pedals. Hip Pole Studios is up there in the top chat. He says he just got back from Henning's 42 Gear Street. Would love to see you there next year when everything is back to normal. How was it, man? Did you have fun? I've never been to Henning's event. Hop Pole Studios, sorry. Did I say hip? I think I said hip. I meant hop. Hip hop. Hippity hop. Yeah, what'd you guys do? What'd you guys look at? How's Henning? Crazy as ever. Yeah, none of us, they wouldn't let us American guys in over there. Not going to let us in. They're like, nope, sorry, you folks you've been bad. Don't get to come here. Let's see. The headphones after tax where I live are $75 from Amazon, says A Camp. Thanks for doing the top chat there, Hot Pole Studios as well. You're somewhere in Europe. I wonder where you're at. Oh, Europe. I miss Europe. I do. Yeah, I'd love to hear about that. I'll look forward to seeing some videos once they start trickling in. I haven't seen any yet. Maybe they're out there. I just haven't seen any yet. I should look. What would you like to add to your collection that you do not have? Like a J45 or J50 Gibson again, or a 54 Les Paul to replace the one that I stupidly sold many years ago, to be honest. Be stoked if I had either of those. Let's see. Al Acoustic says Hot Pole Studios is the bomb. I got to check out your, I'm sorry, I haven't seen your videos and I should go look. So I'm going to make a note to do that right now. Here, I'm going to actually open up another browser window so that I don't forget. Hot Pole Studios YouTube, and then I can go check it out. There it is. I got it. I'm gonna look right after I get off of the chat here. Pied Scooter 1 says PT 100 for PC users. Let me see. I'm going to go look at your site right now. It's Adam Steele.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Adam Steele from Hot Pole Studios here.
There he is. Okay, I look forward to seeing this. Checking out some vids. Let's see. What amp head would you like to add to your collection you do not have, says Steve. An amp head. Okay, well, if Dave makes that AC30, that sounds good to me. Copper panel AC30. What else that I do not have? An amp head. Good, dude. I feel like I'm pretty, like I went kind of crazy lately and getting that Soldano in here and the Germino. I feel like I'm all set. Like I don't have anything else. Maybe maybe a VH4 or something, because I don't have one of those, or like something like that. But I'm good. Like I don't need any more amps. I really feel like sort of set for amp heads right now. That's an honest feel. Hot Pole Studios says, I am honored. Thanks, man. Well, I'll go take a look. I'm going to go watch some of your videos. J45, see, I went the other way. You're like, what amp head would you like? And I'm like, give me an acoustic from the 40s. I love J45s, and I don't have anything that sounds exactly like that right now. So there's the most lovely sounding guitars. J45 or J50 just have this beautiful earthy, awesome sound for, you know, it's different than the Martin thing. So it's like Marshall is Defender, you know, you got Martin and Gibson, and the two, you need both things, I think. JTM 45, says Evan. You know, that is something I would like. Like a long time ago, the Park JTM 45s, the new ones, thought that'd be great if I could get one of those and actually talk to him about it. It's something that I would like. Yeah. To be honest. So that is true. JTM 45 would be a cool thing to have. I don't have anything quite like that right now. Pete, ever play a Carvin, says Christopher. You know, I got fond memories of visiting the Carvin factory with my father when I was a kid. We went there in Escondido where they used to make Carvins. I wonder if that's still where Kiesel or anybody still is. I don't know. But we went to the Carvin factory, had a very nice tour, and my dad found it really interesting, I think, as well. And this was around the time they made that crazy X-looking guitar that you'd see Craig from Starship playing. You know, remember that thing? And it had a Kaler on it and the pickups with all the pole pieces. I remember playing some of those at the factory and thinking they were really cool. You know, I like pointy guitars and stuff back then. So, anyways, yeah, kind of cool, kind of fun. And then I borrowed a Legacy amp. I had for a few days once from them. I checked that out. Legacy combo. I played their stuff a little bit. I wonder if I ever played another Carvin guitar. I don't know that I ever did. I mean, I went to their to Escondido, and then I went to this Hollywood Carvin store. I used to stop in there sometimes, and this is going back 20 years when they had that store on Sunset Boulevard. We were just talking about Sunset Boulevard, and I'd stop in there and pick them up and play them sometimes. You know, they're cool. What mic holder are you talking about for the SM57 and ribbon combo? That's Jambo. It's the Dynamount. So it only holds the 57. The ribbon is on its own, just a short stand. But the Dynamount, if you look it up, you'll find that they make robotic mic moving mic arms that you control via an app on your phone. And it's amazing because you can dial in the angle of the 57 and front and back, move it all around. And then you can store that stuff as presets. Once it's set on your cab and calibrated, you can, using an app or using a computer app, either on the computer or on iOS or Android, you can move that microphone around. And so you can sit there and play guitar and move the 57 or the ribbon or whatever it is you want to put on the stand. You get two of them if you want to move two mics, I guess, but move them around until it's just perfectly positioned. And it's so cool, man. It's amazing, to be honest. So I love that. I need to do a full demo of the Dynamount. It's just one more thing I got to get around to doing. Peter Evans is there in the top chat. It says, Peter, Kick-Ass Sunday, always a great wrap of the weekend. Thanks, man. Enjoy a good beverage. I will do that tonight. I will go and have my favorite nights, because you can go out in LA now, you know, and do things. So my nights to go out are the weeknights, and the you know, Sunday is good, you know, Monday through Thursday. And then towards the weekend, it's like, I don't want to be around that many people right now. I'm one of those guys. I just don't. Made it this far through this thing. So, yeah, I like the weeknights, you know. And so I will take you up, Peter. Thank you thank you for that. And I'll take you up on there. Here, offer to go get a beverage a little bit later. Socially distant from others. It'll be lovely. Oh, yeah. Kiesel is now in. Yeah. So I wonder if it's just the same factory. Joe Jeffries just put up the address there. There you go. Escondido. Yeah. It was fun going down there visiting. You know, there's some great guitar folks around there. There's, you know, Taylor's very close to there too. And I went also for a factory tour there. That was really cool too. Like Taylor guitars a lot. So my knees hurt, says I've been avoiding people my whole life. Yeah. Music Therapy Laz says looking forward to having people over. Yeah, when you can. Yeah. I know what you mean. Pete eats several eggs a day and his vision will always be young. I don't know about if you're talking about this vision, actual literal vision, it's never been young. I wish you could see my baby pictures. Eyes are like, it's always sucked. Evidently, I was running into things and stuff. And so when I was 7 months old, my parents went, I think this kid's got some problems. They took me to the eye doctor and they realized, oh, yeah, some issues. some issues. Legacies are a bit dark, says Steve. Yeah, they are, but that's kind of Steve's tone, the carbon thing and the darker sounds. I think he's a fan of once again, the full single note thing, he likes, which makes sense when you think about his style, makes sense. He's the lead singer. He wants a nice lead singing voice, a robust lead singing voice that's not too abrasive. Because they think about a night of, he said that when I interviewed him. I did an interview with him a while ago, and he said, yeah, after a while of if the sound is too, it can be like after a night of playing that, it can be kind of crazy. And I get that. If you're not playing chords all night and then taking the occasional solo, if you're mostly soloing and being the lead singer, you would need a darker sound, I think. It would get really abrasive after a while listening to, say, that Jose Marshall right there. I mean, it's like that sound, it's a great sound, but it's toothy and aggressive and it's top end, awesome sounding. It's very exciting, but after 2 hours, it might be exciting. Excitement might turn into pain. As with many things in life, too much excitement can lead to pain. Ponder that for a minute. Those Park 45s are awesome, says Arthur. Yeah, it's oh God, I'm totally spacing on his name. It's right here. Mitch Colby from Park. Smart to nail down that Park name like he did and be able to use it for his amps. That was brilliant. And he's a really nice guy and obviously makes great amps, So I'd love one of his 45s someday. That would be cool. Ooh, Dave Calhoun says, check your messenger inbox. I sent you admin info on the L5 that Ty shared. Where did you send it, Dave? Because that's the only thing. Maybe, is it like Facebook or something? Because Messenger, does that mean Facebook maybe, right? That's Messenger, Facebook Messenger. That's how often I use it. I had to think about it for a minute. Okay, I'll check that out. I'd love to hear some info if you've got any. I messed around with that sound, as I mentioned on a show a little while ago, and I had kind of a hard time getting close to, but I think it requires the guitar. I think I'd need the correct Strat Elite with the preamp and all that stuff and the high boost and all those things that, otherwise I don't know how close you can get, Steven says, need another PV 5150 block letter head. It's historic for metal. I had one of those and I loved it, but I just feel like I've got that Soldano down there and that's what they were based on and close enough, for that sound. I had an original block logo. It was so old and right at the beginning that it came with American tubes. And that's how old I am. I bought a new amp that came with real American tubes in it. But yeah, it had Philips 6 L6s in it, right from PV, right from the factory. That was cool. Till they went bad and took out a resistor. And I had to get the amp worked on. That happened. I remember that. Will switching to left-handed make me a better player? No, but it's cool for parties. If you're ambidextrous, ponder that for a minute. Bassman, says Evan Ward. I think you guys are suggesting amps for me to have around here. I have a Bassman. It's in the other room. I love it, but not enough space for everything in here. Okay, down to the bottom of the chat. A couple more things, and I'm out of here. I'm gonna split. I liked my Bogner Ubushal. Good for heavy shite. Sold it, says Medellini A. I think I have to do the module for that. A video coming up relatively soon for the Synergy. So I wonder how close it is. The dream belief lives inside of my head, says SD Design. People, Wizard amps, they'll blow your mind. Can't express this enough. You need to play one to believe it, says Jason Hobbs. Yeah, I made a record with Wizards, and I'm old friends. I've known Rick St. Pierre for many years. It looks like he's pretty active making amps again right now. I used some of the Ard. Sounds Ard, mate. Some of those heads, which are Wizards, back in the 90s. Too, we had a 50 and an 80. 4-tube 80, which probably means it's low voltage, I guess, and a Wizard 50, and they were both ripping. It sounded great. Very plexy. Very plexy. Very plexy. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think it's just about time to split. Do you have a small at-home noodling practice setup? Right now, it's a NuX Mighty Air amp, tiny little practice amp that sits on my couch that I turn on. It's got a drum machine in it and a metronome and a tuner and effects, and I sit there and play like super quiet through it on my couch sometimes. Other than that, my standard home setup that I just have to hook up is a Helix on a board. I've got a Helix-based pedal board that has a couple other pedals on it. And I'm going to take a PT15 home too and wire it all up. Probably 4-cable method. So I'll have the Helix and the PT and go direct in that route. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I had since 2016. I think I built that Helix-based pedal board in 2015 or 16. And I used that on my record on PT2 with a Kemper. I had a Kemper, but I think I'll just use the Helix. I got a Kemper. I'll leave it here. So just the Helix, maybe with the PT15 in 4-cable method. I think, see, I don't know why I go like this, but I'm picturing myself taking the head and putting it in my living room. And that'll be my home thing. Loot89. Bye, Pete. Till next week. Thanks, dude. Up there in the top chat. You guys are too kind. All right, let's be like Loot89 and let's all split. I think. I'll see you guys next time. I'll think about what you said about having a guest about once a month. I think that's good advice. I think once every 4 shows or something. If I dial in a guest for that and then do the other 3 just on my own, I think that sounds good to me. So thanks for the feedback on that, and thanks as always for being here and just being the great folks that you are. And I'm going to go continue to work on the demo for the Pitbull with the EQ on it. That'll be coming out probably Monday or Tuesday. I got some other stuff to do. What else have I got coming up? What else? Dyna Red Distortion from the nice folks at... now, this is like... You guys probably remember these, right? From Barefoot and... Was it BJF or BJE or something? Made a Dyna. Now, the Dyna Red, one of the best Marshall sounding boxes ever. Now there's a 1-control version of the same pedal. So I'm going to be doing a video for that coming up. 1-control Dyna Red. A York Audio IRs. I got to do a video for them. What else? The Ambicab. So that's going to be coming. Comment Ambicab. For those who didn't see, just cool. The new stuff around here this week. I'll just show this real quick and then I'm out of here. Comment Ambicab. This is for wet dry. It's got a mixer on the back, a built-in mixer that allows you to send it out to wet effects and come back in here. And this just works with any amp that you can, imagine, a combo, or if you got a head and a 412 or something, you can use this to get some cool blended in wet effects. And it's super light. It's 24 pounds. It's got Neo speakers in it. Sir Ombre as well back there. That I did a short little video on my IG this week. Great sounding amp. Amazing sounding. John nailed it, and he nailed it also when he said, I was like, this amp sounds awesome. He's like, it's great, right? It's just simple. I was like, yeah, you made a really great, awesome, simple sounding, what a terrific, to just plug in with a cable and, good old school. If you're hurting for good old school, tone, that's a great, you just want to plug into something and just turn it up and play with your Les Paul and a guitar. It's hard to beat that thing. I mean, it's organic and it sounds, like I said, like a perfect cross between a Marshall and a Fender. It really does. The brown Fender thing is they're gainy and fun. And Bill's up there in the top chat and he says bye and thank you, dude. Thank you so much. You guys have really there he is. I can't thank you enough for helping support the channel and keeping me eating turkey sandwiches and stuff so that I can come back here and talk about guitar. Yeah, I can't thank you enough. There's a link down in the video description below to Sweetwater. If you hit that, that also helps. It's a affiliate link that if you need strings or something, that's always helpful. Okay, I'm gonna get to work now, making this video for this Pitbull module. You guys have an awesome week. Love you all. Take care. See you soon.